On the north-central Kansas prairie, a site was selected for its location near a river and a future railroad. The Dexter brothers platted what was to be known as Clay Center in the early 1860s. They labeled 4th Street and Lincoln Avenue as the town's two main streets and began a trading business on the corner. With the passage of time, Eric Swenson purchased the corner lot and began building a two-story brick building with basement rooms accessible from a walkway on the basement's exterior walls. In July of 1885, the building was open for business. The eastern half of the building was occupied by a furniture business, whereas the western half housed a men's clothing store and an office for Eric Swenson and his partner, Peter Wickstrom. Wickstrom and Swenson are now comfortably located in their commodities office room in the new Swenson block at the corner of Lincoln and 4th. They had this office room specially set apart for them on the ground floor with a door entrance on 4th Street. By 1886, the Wickstrom-Swenson office space expanded and occupied the western half of the building. The partnership adventured into insurance, farm loans, currency exchange, and bringing more Swedish immigrants to our county. By looking at the image found in the Clay Center Times newspaper in 1887, one will see a pipe railing about 5 feet from the Swenson's building exterior, which was on the west side and south side. This pipe barrier was to prevent people from slipping into the lower open walkway. However, accidents happened, such as in 1894. The Clay Center Dispatch reported a little 3-year-old boy fell into the cellar well in front of the downtown businesses. The young lad was bruised about the head, but was deemed okay. Join us now as we go into the building and learn a little more about what happened inside the building and about those famous tunnels below the building.
The stairway for the girls that maybe came over from the train, would it have been here?
Well, I think we have to just flat out say, we're not sure on this one. Because we can see kind of a possibility of an arch over here. And the Victorian, they would have that square above. Johnny first told me that it was over here somewhere on the west side, the entrance. And then he said, when the addition came, they came in from the north. And that's all I can tell you.
If it was the original building, the brick, and they were coming in then, they could have came in from the north.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because this was still
But this would have been
the main entrance,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. We're just not sure of how that stairway looked going to the second floor.
Right.
Because it was definitely an exterior stairway, we just don't know what. You think?
Johnny Jensen told me they used the north door.
Okay. So can you tell me about this room right here? This is the north end of the addition, right?
This is the north end of the addition, and then really we know that it housed furniture at one time, and it was part of the furniture store. But previous to that, the only thing we've been told is that it was the meet and greet area. So you imagine very fancy guests here in fancy clothing and top hats. But who they were meeting were the girls of the night who would then take them down to the brothel down the hallway.
Yeah.
Also, some of the stories were that possibly they either took the girls down to the brothel rooms here in this second floor or through the tunnel system over to the hotel, which would have been to the south of the Swenson offices.
This monstrosity that's right here, I can see some light coming through. So obviously there's got to be some like hole that's right there. So what is this?
So this was a cargo lift that was put in, we believe, to get the furniture up and down, because the east side of this building was a furniture store for many years. Originally a furniture store.
Yeah, originally a furniture store. So what was the elevator like made of? How did it work?
So this was the original cargo lift, which isn't there anymore, but was all wooden. And it was a pulley system. So you got in and pulled a pulley to move yourself up and down. And the tracks were actually also wooden, which is not seen very often anymore.
I could understand, because that's very dangerous. Has there been anybody that's been like hurt on the elevator shaft?
Not that I know, but again, when we bought the building, the previous owner had taken out the cargo lift, and it was putting in platforms and getting ready to install an elevator, a modern elevator. So.
Okay. Yeah, and the next thing that I have a question about is these knob-looking things are on top of the ceiling. Like, what are those?
So those are porcelain, called knob and tube electrical system.
Okay.
And so thankful that they left those hanging there. Because a lot of places will just remove all of it, but it's really neat to see that original porcelain still.
Standing on the second floor of the east side of the building, and over here on the west is the original, right?
Correct.
Okay, can you tell me about that?
So originally, the owners, Swenson and Wickstrom, had rooms up here that sleeping rooms, so to speak. And then later they became business offices, professional offices of, I don't know for sure all of them, but dental was one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can see that was this originally a hallway? Because I can see the lines of the...
Yes, it was originally the hallway.
Okay. And you were talking to me about the size of this building. How much square feet is in this building?
There is 5,000 square feet per floor.
Per floor?
Per floor.
That's something I noticed, because this is like super long. So you said that these were the bedrooms?
Down
Down
lower to the southern part.
Down there. And this
is what I'm assuming were the bedrooms.
Yeah. And these pieces of whatever, is that part of the ceiling?
Those are pieces of tin.
Pieces of tin.
And they are from the original ceiling tiles.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And there was nothing added to the ceiling. That's just always been there until it had to be.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense. So.
As you can see, and as you look down you can see the different rooms.
Yeah.
Because you have like the plaster and then the different wallpapers.
Yeah.
Or colors are representative of each room. So.
Yeah. So
looks like we have 5 rooms and then
Yeah.
a small one there on the south end.
On the south end. So this looks like well, I mean, I can see the brick over there. Was there a wall that was
Yes,
placed here?
that
Okay.
was one of the dividing walls.
Okay, I was gonna.
So
yeah.
these were just like sleeping rooms. So
Yeah.
they weren't like what we consider apartments in our world now, where
Yeah.
apartment you have to have a living room and a kitchen and a bath.
Yeah.
They had sleeping rooms and a hot plate. Well, they didn't even have hot plates at that time.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and they were going out back to an outhouse.
Oh,
so they
yeah.
didn't each have their own bathrooms.
It was that old.
That old.
Yeah. You never know how much history a small little hometown has. So come on down and let me show you. So please, tell me about this tunnel, because this is a pretty long hallway we got here.
So back in the day, this would have been open,
Okay.
and there would have been a railing at the sidewalk level, and then there would have been a grate, so to speak, that you would walk over to enter into the first floor buildings, storefronts.
Now I got a few questions about this room right here.
All right, let's go. I bet they've been here since early 1900s. I'm not exactly positive of that.
Okay. And the ceiling looks pretty old. Do you think that was also, did that go up at the same time the wires have? Or?
I would think so. If you take note, though, over in the far corner,
Okay.
you see the arch
Yes, I
of
see
the
that.
brick.
Mhm.
So at some point, that was the original exit out of the building, because what we're looking at right here is the original back of the first structure that was built for this building.
Wow, that's insane. So,
Yeah.
so what do you think this room was used for?
So from all the records we have found, this room was a restaurant.
Okay.
He originally designed the basement to have 3 rooms of restaurant on this west side.
And by he, do you mean Swenson?
Yes,
The-
Eric
okay.
Swenson.
Eric Swenson. Awesome. So all this rubble that's down here and all these, was this from the ceiling that kind of collapsed?
It was
Okay.
from the ceiling, and the dirt just is from, it was dirt floors, so it's just been
Yeah.
weatherization and such. This is how we found it.
Okay, that's-
We have
yeah.
done absolutely nothing to the basement of this building.
So,
So
and when did you buy this?
we bought this in 2018.
Before we move on, I got a very important question. When was this building built?
Well, we know that they moved into this space in 1885, so not exactly sure when construction took place, but as you can see, it took them a while to build these walls.
Yeah, and I could only imagine, like, especially back then, digging out all these tunnels and wow.
Well, we have tried not to touch them. We do know that on some of the top layers, we have invoices back as far as like 1930s
Ooh.
that we've seen. So we're just leaving them as is, and Jeff from the museum is gonna take possession and move those over to the museum for restoration. I think this was also developed for the restaurant. He
Okay.
wanted, Swenson wanted 3 rooms for a restaurant, but it housed several different things over the years.
Oh yeah, I see that. And is this a safe? Because that has a pretty big door.
It is a vault. Examine this vault door like crazy because it's all hand brush strokes.
Seriously?
Seriously. So they were
So
like,
you're talking about this art right here that's in front of here? Or? Wow.
so if you get really close,
Yeah.
you can see the brush strokes.
Oh yeah, I can see that. It just looks so perfect. Like it's like too perfect or something like that. Wow, it's insane. So this vault right here, like what was it used for?
Well, that is the question. Was it used for mortgage company, bank loans, those sort of documents and finances, or was it for gambling money?
Could have been for gambling money. I know this existed in the 30s when Prohibition was there, so there were, yeah. So I could only assume.
I like to tell the story that it was for. Makes for a better story.
Yeah, that's true. It's a pretty big room. And it looks pretty modern. I can see the wallpaper that's over here on this side. And I can see these windows that are over here. So what was this used for?
So this would have been the front room of the restaurant that
Okay.
he was trying to create. But my story is, look at that deep, rich burgundy wallpaper.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe that this maybe was the gambling room.
Probably was, because when I picture casino, I kind of pictured that.
Pretty
So,
rich, isn't it?
Yeah, and well, a big question that I have is why did he have a restaurant below the ground? Like, why didn't he just buy a normal building?
So that is a question that a lot of people have said when we have given tours through here. And one of the things that we can come up with was there was no air conditioning when they first built this building. So if they would have been down here, it would have been somewhat cooler.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I can see some cinder blocks and some rocks. Oh, well, what were these rocks like? These rocks were here when you bought this building.
Correct.
Okay. Why do you think there are rocks just on the floor?
I have no idea. If you look at the stone, and we have had structural engineer down here, the rocks that are down here did not come out of the wall. So
Okay,
there's not
what-
any spot where we're missing pieces to the wall structure, so.
Windows below ground. Because the only thing that's out there is the hallway, so why would they need windows there?
So when this building was designed, I believe that was a time where storefronts were down those and they would need to know where they were going. Also, they're in the basement, so they would need some sunlight.
Yeah.
And so the windows would provide sunlight through the open
Yeah,
tunnel around the edge of the building.
yeah, I can see that. And that brick thing that's right there, what is that? Is that like a chimney?
So that was a chimney for either a coal or wood burning stove. Because all it said in there was that it came from Comstock, and I was like, it's
Yeah, so
Comstock.
it's backing
Whoops.
up is what it amounts to, it's backing up. And Comstock, it went under. And they had some doors collapse on their sides of the building collapse, and 4 of the buildings on the south side, to my understanding, were flooded with
Okay.
water. And then it
Okay.
comes across to the north.
So you said that, they had to take buckets and all that. Well,
Yes.
this looks like dirt, like floor-wise. Was there any hardwood floor that used to be here of any sorts?
There's not that I know of.
Not that you know of, okay.
And we have not seen any remnants of it, but everything is so eroded down
Yeah.
here that it's hard to know.
How did the documents, keep their shape? Because once you imagine that this would flood too?
This did flood,
Uh-huh.
so this had floodwaters to the ceiling of the basement, so.
Yeah.
all
Yeah, well,
of-
I'm talking about more modern day floods. Does this ever, whenever the weather's bad, is there ever water that gets in here?
That's a very good question. So we have owned it for almost 2 years now, and 3 years now.
Oh, okay.
And we have seen some water come in at the sidewalk entrance, and that's just
Okay.
because the grate that goes down is
Yeah.
not totally flat and secure. So there is a little bit of erosion and so-called mud that gathers there, but we have seen no other water
Yeah, well,
in the building.
I got a question. Who do you think would be meeting on this corner right
Pretty humbling question, actually, because whomever built this and started this cornerstone, you can imagine the excitement, a businessman that was getting ready to take on a big adventure
here?
in this community. And so I imagine him to have on a suit and a top hat. What about you?
Oh, I would imagine that too. Could only imagine about that. But yeah, from out here, it just looks like a regular building that was just kind of shoved underground or something like that. And I think it also helps that the windows are here too.
All
So-
original window wells.
Oh yeah, and yeah, okay. So this tunnel kind of extends on just a little bit. Where do you think this tunnel would have gone to?
So the stories that we've heard is that the tunnel went all the way down the north side of Lincoln. But as we have tried to learn more and more about the tunnel, we have went over to Gate 9 Graphic, which is in the next building to the east of us, and their tunnel area looks like it goes directly south.
Okay.
So we wonder if that is where the south entrance to the hotel across the street was.
Oh, that's interesting. So before I go into this room, this archway is really what caught my eye, because it seems like it's in really good shape. Has that always been there, or was it put in?
That is the original archway,
That's
brick
the original?
archway and every door frame down here on this level has that archway above it.
So it's all original.
All original.
Wow, that is mind-blowing. And before I started interviewing you, I noticed these documents. And I see documents that had like a 10/10/1930. So these are the original documents, I would assume. And these were here when you first bought them.
They were here. These were the remaining records that I had talked about in the previous room that we have given to the museum to restore as best they can.
Oh, that's really cool. So this room right here, what was this used for?
So I didn't actually know this until today, but found out today that this was a barber shop at one time.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
So
trying-
the owner, proprietor of the above spot, right above us on the first floor, put in 2 chairs here, and this was an operating barber shop.
Something that I noticed about this room was how well the wall is. Like it seems like it's keeping up in good shape. And I see that, there's stone over here, but then there's also some concrete that looks like it was chipped off. Do you know much about it?
So all of the stone walls down here had been recovered with this like plaster stucco. And most of it is starting to crumble off, and that's where you see kind of back in the corner where that dust is.
Yes.
But the actual wall, the stone wall, we had a structural engineer come through, and he told us that they are very solid and very firm foundation.
Okay, so I can see that the old stone here stops. What's up with that?
So we don't know for sure if this was stone at one time to the back, to the north side of the building,
Yeah.
but that stone did stop, and then there's all new concrete on the north side.
Okay.
We do know that that line right there is actually the line of the original back wall of the structure.
Yeah.
So that would have, the new addition to the north would have started taking place in 1912 when the cistern was removed in this area.
After his partnership with Mr. Wickstrom dissolved in 1906, Swenson focused on his real estate and mortgage loan business. With his financial success, Swenson enlarged his corner lot building in 1912. By removing the town's original Dexter cistern, built in the 1860s, he expanded the brick building further north to the alley. Not only did he expand his corner building, he also purchased a lot to the east. He removed the one-story stone building and built a connecting store of brick. The second floors of both buildings were connected by a doorway, which you saw earlier, and leased to the furniture store, which is now Gate 9 Graphics. We hope you enjoyed this time travel through some of the history of Clay Center and learning more about the building on the corner, known as the Swenson Building.